All right, so check this out.
Okay.
Someone sent us this French podcast, and
Yeah.
it's wild.
Really?
They're using ChatGPT,
Yeah.
but like the new voice feature live during the recording.
Oh,
Yeah, like as they're talking to it.
during the podcast.
It's insane.
That's a world first, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
At least that we know of.
I mean, talk about groundbreaking. What an incredible audio file to get our hands on.
I know. It's like we're peeking into the future of like content creation and AI.
Absolutely. It's not just about observing AI anymore. This is different. This is AI being integrated, woven into the very fabric of how podcasts are made.
And what gets me is you can feel how excited the hosts are. Like they know they're the first ones to do this.
It's like that raw, infectious energy you get.
Yeah, exactly. Like kids in a candy store.
It's exciting to listen to.
Totally. Okay, so they've got Remy Boy, who's like the more emotional one of the group.
Right.
He's practically in tears at some points just thinking about AI's potential.
Yeah, and then you've got Pierre Le Pen, who's, well, he's definitely the pragmatist.
Oh, totally.
Already thinking about how to use all this for their show.
And we can't forget Zoo, the producer.
Oh, poor Z.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You can practically hear his anxiety levels rising as they talk about AI taking their jobs.
Understandably. That's a whole other conversation, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool that they don't shy away from those bigger questions.
Definitely.
But first things first, they got to figure out who their AI companion even is.
Right.
So they start going through these different voices like Juniper, Harbor.
It's like they're casting for a movie or something.
I know. Each voice has its own personality, too, which is kind of freaky.
It is a bit strange, yeah.
But they finally settle on this one named Jupiler,
Jubilaire. Okay.
which eventually turns into Leo by the end of the episode.
Interesting.
I know, right? Like, that shift to a more human name, it's subtle, but it changes everything.
Yeah, it's like they're forming a bond.
Exactly.
So what happens when they ask it to tell a joke?
Oh, man. This is where it gets good.
Okay, lay it on me.
So Leo, well, at this point, it's still Jupiler tries to tell a joke, right?
I'm assuming hilarity ensues.
Well, sort of.
Ah!
The jokes are technically sound.
What do you mean?
Like, the structure is there. It follows the format of a joke.
But
But it's missing that certain something.
it's not actually funny.
It's like watching a comedian going through the motions, but forgetting to actually be funny, you know?
I see.
And the hosts pick up on this right away. They even start debating whether you can program humor or if it's something inherently human.
Interesting.
Right. Like, does humor need experience to be real?
Mm-hmm.
And then, get this,
Yeah.
Remy tells this story about performing stand-up for a blind audience member once.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it totally throws another wrench into the whole AI humor thing.
How so?
Well, he's saying that so much of stand-up is about reading the room, feeding off the energy of the audience.
Ah, I see.
And can AI ever really replicate that?
That's a good question.
Right. Okay, get ready for this, though, because then they do something really unexpected.
What's that?
They let Leo play podcast host for a segment.
No way.
Yeah.
Honestly. For a first attempt, I'm kind of impressed.
Right.
It's a bit rough around the edges, but Leo manages to keep the conversation going, even asks some decent questions.
I know. It's almost like having, I don't know, a really eager intern or something.
That's a perfect way to put it, and it gets super meta here, because they start talking about, like, AI ethics. Like, should they be apologizing to Leo for bossing it around?
I know. They even say that.
It's amazing how quickly they go from, wow, this is cool, to, wait a second, are we the bad guys here?
That is so interesting, though, right?
It is, and I think it speaks to how we're hardwired to anthropomorphize.
Totally.
Like, we give names to our cars, talk to our plants.
All we're kind.
So it's only natural that we project emotions onto something like Leo.
Especially when it starts, like, exhibiting those human-like behaviors.
Exactly.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
they ask Leo to roast them.
Oh, no.
You know, like that classic podcast bit.
Yeah.
And it is, I don't even know how to describe it.
Painful.
It's like, almost.
Like watching a kid try to be cool in middle school.
Yes.
Exactly. The jokes are there, but they just don't land.
It's missing that, that understanding of human vulnerabilities that makes a roast actually funny.
You're right.
But honestly,
yeah.
I kind of love those imperfections
Why is that?
because it makes it more interesting to me.
Interesting how.
Well, because it shows us the limits
Yeah.
of what we can program, at least for now, anyway.
That's a good point.
And it raises those big questions like, can AI ever really grasp these nuances?
Right. Like human emotion, experience.
Yeah, the stuff that makes us human.
Or is it always going to be this, I don't know, slightly off version of us?
Like an uncanny valley version of humanity.
Exactly.
Okay. But can we talk about Leo's accent work for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Because this is where I lost it.
Really?
They ask Leo to sound like, well, someone who might have enjoyed certain recreational substances. And it's spot on.
No way.
It's incredible. And, you know, I do have to give the hosts props here.
Yeah.
They approach these, I don't know, potentially sensitive topics
Yeah.
with such a sense of humor and curiosity.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
Totally. They're not afraid to push boundaries,
Sure.
but they're also aware of the ethics of it all.
Yeah, it feels less exploitative that way.
Yes.
And more like playful exploration.
Exactly. And that's what makes this entire deep dive so captivating to me.
Right.
It's like, we're right there with them, figuring it out as they go along.
Flies on the wall for this crazy groundbreaking moment.
I know. And it's not like they just stick to one thing either.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like they keep throwing these, like, curveball questions at Leo, you know?
Like what?
Like, at one point, they ask it about this documentary made by this famous French gamer.
Okay.
And it's so random.
So what happens?
Well, Leo answers it.
What? Hey.
Yeah. Like, it's his weird pop quiz to see how deep its knowledge base really is.
How deep does it go?
Pretty darn deep, apparently.
Wow.
Which, I mean, that just leads to more questions, doesn't it?
Like what?
Well, if AI can already hold a conversation like this,
Right.
tell jokes, even if they aren't that funny, and access all this random information.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the future?
Of everything.
Everything. It's like we're standing on the edge of a cliff.
Right. A cliff.
Yeah, like a technological cliff.
Okay, I see what you mean.
We can kind of see where things are going,
Yeah.
but we have no clue what it'll actually be like when we get there.
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Totally. And these French podcasters,
Yeah.
they're not just dipping their toes in, you know.
Yeah, they're going all in.
They're doing cannonballs straight into the deep end of AI.
It's wild.
By the end of this thing, they're like officially welcoming Leo to the team.
No way. Are serious.
Dead serious. They even joke about Leo taking over their sponsorship reads.
Which, honestly, isn't that far-fetched, right?
I know.
AI doing voiceovers, writing ad copy, the future is already here.
Right. It's mind-blowing.
And you know it's interesting to me?
What?
The name Leo.
What about it?
It's short, friendly, catchy. Those are all things you'd think about when choosing a name for a new co-host.
Which, in a way, that's kind of what Leo's becoming.
Right. It's wild.
There's a lot to wrap your head around, that's for sure.
It really is.
And what I keep coming back to is how self-aware these hosts are throughout this whole thing.
Totally. They're not shying away from the big questions.
Like 1 minute, they're geeking out about the tech, and the next, Remy's all like, dude, I feel kind of bad telling Leo what to do.
It's like that weird feeling you get when your smart home device does something surprisingly thoughtful.
Yes, exactly.
You're like, hold on, am I supposed to thank it or something?
It's like we're figuring out the rules of engagement as we go.
Because we've never had to consider these things before.
Exactly.
It's uncharted territory.
Where do we even draw the line between tool and companion?
Right.
I don't think anyone has a good answer to that yet.
And that's what I love about this episode.
Me too.
It doesn't try to solve everything.
There's
It
no
lets us sit with the discomfort,
The excitement.
the uncertainty of it all.
It's like they're handing us a flashlight and saying, hey, want to explore this crazy cave with us?
Right. And the craziest part is, this isn't some sci-fi movie, you know?
I know.
This is happening right now.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It really is.
If a French podcast can accidentally invent the future of AI companionship,
Yeah.
what else is possible?
That's something to think about for sure.
It really is.
Well, that was a wild ride.
It really was.
Until next time.
See you then.